Hello and welcome. This is Boles.tv. It's BOLES.television. I'm David Boles. Coming to you live from the East Coast of these United States. And the weather here is very weird. It's rainy and bizarrely cool but humid. And it's raining, but it's not raining. And I tell you, the last week, we've been very cold on Saturday. And then there were 3 days last week where we had the windows open. 70 degrees. Very, very bizarre weather. Climate change, if you will. And on the day that it was 70 here, back in Nebraska, I guess in Lincoln, they had some kind of snow dome, thunder dome that exploded like 3 feet of snow all over the place. Well, it's been an interesting morning so far. As I told you last week, usually I awaken, 5:30. Hey, it's Artist Dora. Hey, it's Tuesday. Yesterday we were off, so we are all off a day. And it means it's harder to wake up and harder to pay attention because you don't really know what day it is. And yesterday was really very, very dead. Online, people. And President's Day is not a big thing. Except in the USA, where if you have a, sort of government job or a formal job, like a big company, you're off. So, off, and now, we're back, and we had a long weekend, and now it's Tuesday, but it feels like Monday. So it's very bizarre when you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. The first thing I do is catch up on the news, if we're doing a show, to figure out, if there are new things to talk about. Because usually you try to structure a show, and it takes you 2 or 3 hours of prep to know what you're going to talk about, and if it's going to fill the time. And then you try to write the description of what you're going to talk about. And sometimes you are successful, and sometimes you just talk about things that you never get to. So this morning I sat down and said, today's going to be a big day, because I get to share one of my fun cat AI art creations, my claymation cats. And I've had these ready to go for a few days, but there are other things that have to go, and I had a cat contest that, didn't go very well, but then some people joined today, and so we gave them trophies. So it's all very technical. And you want to plan it out. You don't want to burn people out on too many cats, so you do like one cat thing a day. But you also don't want to be known as the cat guy, because what fun is that? Then all people want to hear about you is, what cats are you going to show us? And if you happen to skip a day and you don't have any cat stuff you're putting out there, then people complain and they come after you and say, where's the cat stuff? And I think, I talk about other things and, myths and theater and teaching and movies, and I don't just do cats. Yeah, but where are the cats? What are they? Where are they? I didn't see them today. Oh my gosh, so it's a lot of pressure. But you bring it on yourself. I guess it's better to have, people looking for stuff you create than people just not looking for you at all. Which sort of brings me to my next topic. Last week I talked about these trolls who were following me and who I had to get rid of. And this morning we had a similar experience, but a little bit different, but not really. So this is my claymation cats thing. This is on Mastodon. And if you're interested in any of this, you can go to boles.xyz, as our friend Dora did, and join our instance. But there are also 10,000 other instances you can join if you want to be part of the Fediverse, not the metaverse, the Fediverse, Fedi, the Federated Universe, and be on Mastodon. So this morning I post the cats. First thing, really. Claymation cats, paws of clay, playing off feet of clay. Their undoing is their own delightfulness in themselves. They know they are irresistible. They know how to play coy. They know you want one. They know they're carved with cuteness. They're putty in your hands. And then all of this, because people get very upset if you don't put tags on your posts so they can find them. And now I used to just put AI, but then with the paper cats, AI wasn't enough, and everybody thought I created them myself, accusing me of doing terrible things, copying other people, plagiarism. Who do you think you are, pretending to make these paper cats when they're only AI? So now I add AI Heart. I add AI. I add Mid-Journey now because people usually, what engine are you using? You know, people don't even know what the engine is, but now more people do know the difference between a Stable Diffusion and a DALL-E and a Crayon and a Night Cafe and a Mid-Journey. So these are all, but see, I like to write a lot, and you have 500 characters to fill or to be limited by. So I start typing, and I run out of room really fast. So now I say, okay, I've got to cut myself down because I had to put at least 3 hashtags in there, dissolving me of any fakery that people think that I create these cats on my own. But I loved these cats. They were so fun to create, and that's why I wanted to save them for, a good day, which appears to be a working day. You would think Saturday, Catter Day, is the day to put cats up. And it is sort of, but the best day is during the week. I guess when people are pretending to work and they're looking at cats on Ollie. I don't know. But just posting these cats. And if you remember the claymation raisins, people who know my age know exactly what these are, and people who don't know, it doesn't matter because they're fun and cute cats. Okay, so I push that up there, and I know it's going to be very successful, get a lot of likes and retweets and all of that, because they're very cute, and I know what my audience likes. My bat cat did not do well, which surprised me. But maybe I stepped on it because that was a day where there was a lot going on and I was posting a lot, and I think people kind of got lost in the fog of what I was doing. My fault. Now I've learned you're going to post something, wait an hour, let it propagate, because it's not instantaneous. People on your instance see your work instantaneously. But when you publish it to the Fediverse, depending on where people are in the world and what time they get up, it can take, 10, 15, 20 minutes for it to kind of get out there for all people to see. And so you do start timing it. So I put this up and, got a couple, early likes and boosts. And then, 10, 15, 20 minutes later, bing, 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 bing. Better. Okay. So it's good. So far you can see right down here, it has 32 favorites and 19 boosts. Now, our paper cats are like 2,000, which is just ridiculous. It's still going on. I can't do anything about it. I'm not going to go in there and edit it because it's already been out there for, like a week. So I was very happy with this Claymation Arts. And then a person with whom I had been lightly interacting with, maybe over the last week or so. And I would, be friendly. I don't know who this person is. I don't know what they are. I have given this person extra cats if I have them, which is always sort of fun. Several times. Album art several times, that kind of thing, all right? So I had the feeling this person was very friendly to me. And this person was very engaging to engage with and likes to kid around a lot, which is fine. I love to kid around. I love to be sarcastic. I love to poke at people. Just ask my wife. Meow. Hey, it's artist Dora. I know no one responded to my art VSS submission. Should I create another account, another instance? I'm so confused with instances. It's completely and totally up to you. But it's a new experience. You have to go out there and you have to, work on things. But when you come into a conversation that other people are having and you change the conversation to be about you, that, especially on Mastodon, wherever you go, turns people off. So that's something to be very careful about. It's not Twitter, where you can just kind of barge in and say whatever you want to say and leave. Mastodon is very formal, as I'm going to tell you right now. It's very formal, a lot of rules, and you have to learn how to kind of get along in it. So this person, who I've interacted with in the past, responds to my claymation cat thing. And this person says, "Are you subtooting me?" Okay, a toot is what they call it on Mastodon, not a tweet or a post. The old timers call it a toot, which I guess is like an old joke where some comedian gave the developers early on of Mastodon a lot of money, saying, but the button to publish has to say toot instead of publish. And because the people who invented Mastodon are German, they didn't really have a lot of deep understanding of English, didn't know that toot was sort of a thing about farts. And they said if we had known then what we knew now, we would not have accepted the money and allowed that person, that comedian, American comedian, to call our posts publishing toots. So they've now changed that. It's no longer a toot, it's just a post. But there are old timers who use toots. So why are you subtooting me? And I thought, wait a minute, I thought I knew this person. This was a friendly person. But you don't know who you're talking to on the internet. You don't know really what's going on. The old joke for 15 years has been, nobody on the internet knows you're a dog. So I have no idea really who this person is, except who this person presents themselves to be historically with me. Now, subtooting is not a nice thing. It's like, someone's up here talking and you're behind their back talking about them. That's what that means. And it's not friendly and it's not a joke. And with my beloved claymation cats, I was being accused of something. So I said, okay, I don't really understand what you're talking about. And I didn't, because I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about my cats. So this person then responds and says, you're, and then this person quoted this part of my post back to me. Irresistible, know how to play coy, you want one, and you're carved with cuteness, okay? Quoted that back and said something like it's like from my bio. So, okay, so I've been accused of subtooting, and now I've been pretty much right in the open on the Fediverse, where everyone can read it, of somehow plagiarizing, imitating this person's Masto bio. And I think, I don't even know what you're talking about. So I go to that person's page and I look and I read the toots. There's nothing there. I read the bio. The bio is vague. Talking about accessibility. And so I'm thinking there's nothing about being cute and irresistible and how you want one. And I'm thinking, what? Is this person messing with me? Is this person trying to embarrass me on my claymation cats thing that I've been holding for a year? Hey, Artist Store says, wowza, and they say, cray cray. Yeah. So then I said, okay, well, I had no idea what she was talking about. I already told her I didn't know what was being talked about. So I said, well, okay, I'll be careful next time. What am I going to say? I don't know what you're talking about. And then this person replied and said, I'm just busting your chops. And I thought, oh. So for 4 or 5, messages going back and forth, this person has been messing with me. I don't want to be messed with on stuff that I work on, and these cats take a little bit of time to create. I'm putting it out there for celebrating. And when you get that kind of weird conversation going into a thread about cats or whatever, it puts a whole chill on it because nobody wants to join a conversation like that because it's weird. And Mastodon has a lot of European and international people, and their first language is not always English. So this post that I worked on about my cats has been chilled by this person who was messing with me. Now, I don't like people who mess with other people. I'm really very much against that. I hate April Fool's Day. I hate Candid Camera. I hate the magician show with that kid who makes fun of people. I hate the Impractical Joker show. Because all these shows, the butt of everybody's joke in all of these situations is nice people. Good people don't get put on those shows. Bad people don't get put on those shows because they tell people to F off, they punch people, they run away, they threaten. Now, the good sports are the nice people who are willing to help, willing to hold a bag, willing to be made fun of because they think in this scenario that this person's a magician, this person's a car mechanic, this person is doing an interview that's serious. And then at the end of the day, all the joke's on you. You're a big fool. You stopped and gave me your time and your attention, and there you go. It's all a big joke. I'm just busting your chops. Now, busting your chops is okay if you know somebody. Like, Dora and I go back and forth sometimes. My new friend Marley Bitts, who was on this show one time. I mean, if we go back and forth and kid each other, okay, because we've talked about a variety of things. We've talked about heavy things. We've talked about light things. We've joked. We made fun. And they're not going to mess with my thread. But when you're on, these services, anybody can punch in, as they say, and say something and then, leave or give you a hard time for 3 or 4 messages and make a big joke out of it. Dora loves a good joke. Yeah. But when you don't know people and you have really no relationship with them, no context other than, 1 or 2 hellos on the Fediverse, and you think this is a friendly person, I guess your defenses are down, and they're, I guess, accusing you of things you didn't do, but they're accusing you find out later, in a bust your chops sort of way. And then those people, the first thing they say is oh, practical joke, oh, joking on you, oh, bust your chops, ha 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 ha, and you're not laughing with them or smiling with them. First thing they say is, oh, you're a poor sport. And I'm not a poor sport. Other people are not a poor sport. You're just a mean person. Dora agrees 100%. So like you say, you need to be careful. Yeah, you have to be careful. So what I did, after I bust your chops, I blocked that person. Because I thought, why are you messing with me? I don't know you. I don't want that kind of energy and meanness in my life, and especially not on the Fediverse, Mastodon, where I'm there to sort of have fun and meet new people. I don't want to be hanging out with someone who's trying to bust my chops in my Claymation Cats article. In other news, Facebook now is wanting to charge you, I think it's $11, $12, $13 to get verified. Now, if you have been verified on Facebook with a blue check, I have since deactivated my account because I find it to be an unsavory company, you quickly find out that they are very rough and tough, and they will knock you offline for any reason they demand, and they have always demanded a government ID to keep your business page verified. Nothing new. Which is fine with me because I believe in verification. I want to know exactly who I'm dealing with. And that's one thing that Facebook really got right from the start. They want to know who you are, so you use your real name. You don't use any slang or jargon. You are who you are on Facebook. I like that a lot. But, young kids don't. They don't want the hassle. They think it's a violation of privacy to share an ID, so they all left for TikTok. So the old people are left, and I don't know if there's a big, hue and cry for people to be verified on Facebook. On Twitter, there sort of always has been, but Facebook people didn't really seem to care if you were verified or not, because verification is kind of like a testimony of who you are is who you say you are. But if you've been on Facebook for any amount of time, they sort of demand to know who you are, verified check or not. And if they think you're not who you say you are, you have to prove to them by giving them a photograph, by sending them a government ID, to prove who you are to them so they can know who you are. And this was a big problem with the trans community because people were changing genders and names. And when they would provide proof to Facebook, Facebook would say, well, your government ID says you're male, but you're presenting as female, and you're not using a male name, you're using a female name. And the person would try to say, yeah, I'm not that person anymore, I'm a new person. And many years ago, Facebook would cut them off. So I find it really weird that now Facebook is saying, oh, we're going to verify you for money. Now you have to pay them to harass you, and it is a harassment, really. If they don't think you are who you are and they demand your government ID, and you have to take a selfie and you have to put a special code on a piece of paper and hold it in front of your face. And if it has striped lines on it, it won't read because it's an automatic reader. You have to use a blank page of paper, and you have to date it, and you have to send it in, and then they decide if they verify you or not. So that's what they're going to do now, and you're going to pay them $12 a month to have a blue check mark? I don't think people are going to really go for that. I don't will. But what that tells us is that the old social media networks, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they all need money. Instagram wants to verify you too. Elon Musk wants your $8 to verify you. And it's all fake and it's all phony because they're not verifying anything. All they're doing is taking your money and putting up a blue check mark. And maybe you have to send in your government ID, but good luck with that because it's not people looking at your government ID. It is Facebook computers reading your government ID. So I don't think that is going to go over very well. I don't really understand the intention behind it, except for it being a money grab. And it's so interesting going online, these apologists for Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook, Meta, and Elon Musk at Twitter. Oh, they have to make money. What do you expect? You've been using their things for free. Now you have to start paying. And once you start paying, they're going to start charging you incrementally for everything. Oh, you want to post more than 3 times a day? That's an upcharge. Oh, you want to have more than 10 friends? You got to pay. And I say, pay. Make everybody pay for every little tiny thing you do. As I said when Twitter first started out, charging people for Twitter Blue. I said, I'm old enough, I remember the good old bad days of the internet when email was just starting to take fire. And there were companies, internet companies, who wanted you to pay a penny per email that you would send out. And this was supposed to stop spam because spammers wouldn't spend a penny to send you an email. Oh, they spend a lot more than that. And it would just be a nasty kind of experience. And finally, the people said, look, if you're going to charge me a penny to send an email, I'm not going to use your service. There's no reason for me to be on the internet. So I will cancel my service with you and you can collect your pennies from other people because I'm not going to. And so after about 3 or 4 weeks of that threat of charging people per penny, it got dropped. And then the next great idea was that the Postal Service was going to get involved and federally they were going to charge you for delivering an email on the internet, because if you used email, you didn't need the post office, and so the post office was going to lose money. So they wanted to charge you, I think, two pennies for email. And they were going to federalize the internet, that everything would go through federal servers, go through federal IPs, and the post office would be the ultimate deliverer of emails back and forth, which was sort of an interesting idea, and people weren't really not liking that idea. They didn't like every email you send, just like every letter you send, is going to be charged, and you're going to pay for it. People didn't like that. So that got dropped rather quickly, too. And then about 5-10 years later, it was, the post office is now going to become banking for everybody. So you get a postal service banking address. You can go and deposit money at any post office. You can collect your Social Security checks from the post office bank that you have set up. That was interesting as well, but that didn't go anywhere because that's going to cost a lot of money. But it was to especially help the unbanked, the poor people, that everyone in America would have their own bank account that happened to be with the Postal Service, because those were considered branches. Like banks have branches. Well, the Postal Service is everywhere, so everyone could always have complete and total access to their money, their bank account, and it would be federally insured because it was a Postal Service branch became your bank branch. That was a great idea, too. I like that quite a bit. So our friend Igba, who is a good friend of the show, created this lovely piece for me. He's an NFT artist, but he does paintings. He made this out of rock for me. I don't know if I don't think drilled it or carved it with a mechanical saw sort of thing. Beautiful work. He is a Russian. He is living in exile with his very beautiful wife. His mother and father are back in Mother Russia, and he misses them a lot. And every once in a while, we just tap in and chat with each other. We have another friend, Alexander, who is in the middle of the war in Ukraine. Alexander comes and goes. Sometimes you can find him, sometimes he disappears for 2 months. We don't know where Alexander is, but we hope he's not dead, just to be blunt about it, because I worry about him. Last time I spoke to him, he was cold and hungry, and they had no power. And then today, I hear on the news that all of Ukraine has power back. So that's a very good thing. So I asked Igba for, an update. How is he feeling? And Twitter initially sort of deleted his Twitter account, which terrified him because he relies on Twitter to sell his NFTs and to make money for his family. And he is very heavy and very, very active on Twitter all day and all night. I mean, he's out there hustling, as they say. And it's interesting because if he tried to do that on the Fediverse, on Mastodon, he would be blocked and cut off from everybody. Because the feeling on Mastodon is, we don't do crypto, we don't do NFTs, and anybody who's selling NFTs or trying to sell NFTs, we will block them, we'll block their server, we don't want them on Mastodon. That has been made very clear to me. And I was having a conversation with some of these other server admins. I said, but what do you do with, I have Alexander, who's in Ukraine, and that's how he provides for his family. He tries to sell a few NFTs. And then I have Igba, who's fighting the war in his own way, trying to make a little bit of money, a few dollars, by selling NFTs. Why is that a terrible thing? And they don't even want to talk about it. It's like, we don't have that conversation here. That is not the Mastodon. They want to go sell their stuff, shill their stuff, put links to stuff that they're selling. They can do that on Twitter. That doesn't go over on Mastodon. Now, there are all kinds of Mastodon servers. There are hate group servers, white power servers, Nazi servers, all kinds of different interests, if you will, of servers that are all part of this Fediverse. But the bad actor servers, the hate servers, the good servers kind of band together and say, we don't want that on our server. because that's negative stuff. We don't want it. So we ban them, and they're not part of our Fediverse, but they're part of the Fediverse in their own way because other places say, hey, if they're Nazis, let them come and talk. I don't want that. So that's the idea behind the crypto and the NFT is they don't want that. They think it's bad, and they don't want it on their server. And if you, as a small instance, start having users on your instance who are putting out, NFT stuff, buy my crypto stuff with Ethereum, you're going to be blocked. And then if you get blocked by the really big servers, then you're in trouble. So I thought, okay. If Igba and Alexander ever decide to get on Mastodon, they're going to have to be very careful how they do it, because what they want to do is not have a conversation with people, really, or make connections. They just want to sell their NFTs so they can eat. It's not going to go well for them. So Igba said he's not spoken to his parents. He got his original Twitter account back, which thrilled him because that was his main account. He had to create a second account in order to try to keep selling his NFTs. I said, well, what happened? Why did they cut you off? And we know they cut him off because he was Russian in exile. And he said, I don't know what happened. I appealed their suspension and I got my account back. So that's good for Igba. He says he doesn't spend a lot of time on social media as he used to because he said it's draining and exhausting. And I know that means he's not selling a lot because NFTs have kind of fallen out of favor with these terrible crashes and people stealing Bitcoin. It's really a terrible thing because it's a wonderful idea. He also told me he got COVID. I thought, Igba, how, why? I know he's very careful. I've seen his mask. And I guess he got it, but his beautiful wife, as far as I understand, did not. So that's interesting and very wonderful because, when you're in a tight space, in hiding, sort of, in exile, you kind of, I think, on top of each other a little bit. So they must have taken extraordinary precautions for him to stay on one side and her to stay on the other, and she never got sick. But he seems to be recovered. But boy, the more you read about these long COVID infections and how the young kids are having heart trouble, and what long-term COVID means is not just lung, but it goes right to your heart and hardens it and thickens it and makes it very, very uncomfortable. So if you have high blood pressure or if you're prone to being sick, you got to stay away from the COVID because it's coming after you. And yesterday I saw this chart from Nova Scotia, from Canada, saying, people say the pandemic's over, the lockdown's over, but COVID is still very strong in Canada. And they had the little thing, and COVID infections in Nova Scotia were off the charts. You could not go higher than we are completely infected everywhere you go. And there's still people around who say, oh, well, if you get it, you get it. Who cares? Doesn't make any sense. So Igba says, he's having a hard time. He's trying to sell NFTs. People are not really buying from him. He's trying to stay positive, think positive. He wants the war to be over, and he wants Putin out. All of those, very admirable. But I don't know how soon or how fast that's going to happen, or if it's even possible, but that they happen. So that's Igba. There's one other thing I want to talk about. Another thing I saw that was really interesting over the weekend was this, and I looked for it this morning. I could not find it again, of course, because that's how life goes. I saw this wonderful video of this woman in a pool, and she has a big yellow ball, and standing right next to her on the edge of the pool is a very tiny person, probably referred to as a toddler, wearing a heavy coat, boots, pants, and is precariously leaning over the edge of the swimming pool. And the woman in the swimming pool in her swimsuit has this yellow ball and kind of pushes the yellow ball over to the child. The ball is floating in the pool. And the young child, the toddler, bends over to pick up the ball. And the woman in the pool goes like this to the child. Boop! Heavily and forcefully reaches out from the pool, puts her hand on the back of the child, and pushes the child into the pool. Splash! And then the video ends. And people are outraged. That's child abuse. Go arrest that woman. And other people are saying, no, this is the technique. This is what happens. And I remember one of my classmates from high school works at a brain trauma center, and her side gig is teaching infants and toddlers not how to swim, but how to rescue themselves if they fall into a pool. Because every year there are 300 children who drown in bodies of water in the USA. That includes rivers, lakes, streams, oceans, swimming pools. And she's made it the business and purpose of her day to certify other people to teach young children how to survive a fall into a body of water. And she was on the swim team. She was a cheerleader. She has that life. She also lost a daughter of hers at a very early age, almost at birth, I believe, that has destroyed her, but not her faith, but something that she thinks about every day. And so she posts a lot of pictures of how you train these kids. And you train them very gently, sometimes forcefully, to roll when they fall in water, not to panic. And these are little babies, not to panic. You flip over on your back, and you float in the water, and you breathe, and really you wait for help. You're not really taught to turn over and try to swim away. Now, children under 6 months of age, you don't do that. If they're older than that, you can, because they can regulate their body temperature and they know how to hold their breath. Under 6 months, don't do it. And the way you teach these children is, once you've sort of trained them, and you play with them in the pool, you teach them how to flip over, how to hold their breath, then the real training comes in the panic. And there are videos of swim teachers, walking up behind one of their students, tiny little child, and pushing them hard into the pool to see if they can turn around and float on their back. And people when I talked with this young child wearing clothes, they said, she pushed too hard. And she did. She grabbed her and pulled her into that pool as hard as she could. And people who know said that's because if you just push her a little bit, she might not fall all the way into the pool. And if she falls a little bit but not far enough, she's going to hit her head on the edge of the swimming pool. So that's why when you're pushing children into a pool to see if they can, swim or get on their back, you have to do it a little bit forcefully, because that's how it's going to happen in real life. Usually children aren't just, standing there and I'm going to fall into the pool and plan on it. They're thrown into a pool by a loud sound that scares them and they fall in, by a dog who runs up and pushes them into the pool. Kids at a party push you into the pool. But what I loved about that video that I saw was the fully clothed child with the pants and the heavy coat and the snow boots. And I thought, now that's a really, really good teacher. Because that is real life. That is how a young child, age 2 or 3, is going to fall into a pool or a body of water or a river or an ocean or a stream. They're going to be outside in the cold. And they say, my ball fell into the river. Let me just bend down and see if I can pick it up and take it home. And instead of getting the ball drifts away, and the child falls into the pool with all their clothes on. And the weight of the water will sink them faster than you can imagine. And how do you teach a young child like that not to panic? You do it by repetition. You do it by surprise. I'm going to push you when you least expect it. And I'm going to see if you can flip yourself around and float on your back. And my friend who makes these, teaching videos and goes all around the country in her spare time teaching other people how to save children from drowning has the videos. And little tiny young children, I call them babies, but they're over 6 months. They're in a pool. And they just turn over and they put their arms out and they start breathing. And it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So I really wish that video of that woman, hey, it's Marley Bitch, what a teacher could do is test the student on the essay they submitted. Okay. Yes. So what I would have loved to see at the end of that video is for the video not to stop, but for the child to then demonstrate what they do. Do you get rid of the coat? I think you have to. Do you get rid of your boots? I think you have to. And then you get yourself on your back and you can float. That's what you would think. That's what you would hope would happen. But the video cuts itself off. So I don't know if that was by design or if that was just the way that someone posted it. But there was definitely another person there videoing it. So everybody knew what was going on, except for the young child who was only concentrating on the yellow ball that he or she could not have. But I want to see the rest of it and see what happens. It's very interesting. So, also, over the weekend, we saw two wonderful movies. Now, Harold and Maude is a 1971 movie directed by Hal Ashby, starring Bud Cort and Ruth Gordon. Now, I remember watching this movie as a young guy, maybe 7 or 8 years old. I think it was on late at night. It had been out for 3 or 4 or 5 years or so. And it was a very wonderful, interesting movie that for some reason all of my friends and the people I went to school with loved it as well. The boys, the girls hadn't seen it or weren't interested in it, but for some reason, Midwest boys of a certain age who watched Harold and Maude fell in love with the story. And it's a 1971 film, so I'm going to talk about what happens in the story. Hey, it's Artist Door. So old, the movie. I've heard of it, but I don't think I saw it at all. Well, if you have it on Prime, you can watch it for free. It's part of their thing. And it's an older movie. They've not upgraded it. It's standard definition. It's not HD. The captions are good, but it's a movie full of Cat Stevens songs. Hey, it's Jana Marie Sweetheart. Hi, Jana Marie Sweetheart. Amazing movie, she says. Yes. And Jana had not seen the movie. I've seen it many times. This is her first time. And Jana was a little bit upset at the beginning because if you don't know the movie, Bud Cort, here I'm not showing it to you, Bud Cort of Harold and Maude fame, commits suicide, fake suicide, in several grisly, gruesome ways. The whole movie starts with him hanging himself in the parlor. And then his mother finds him bloody all over the bathroom, and it's all fake. And he's doing it to get the attention and the love of his mother, who doesn't care. All she cares about is trying to marry him off, and they're from a very wealthy family. Hey, it's Artist Dora saying hi to Jana Marie. Yes, Dora, you will enjoy the movie. Ruth Gordon is just amazing. And he falls in love with Maude because they go to funerals. And they happen to go to the same funerals together. Hey, Jana Marie says, it's bothered me a lot at first, but I understand why now. Yes. And it's meant to upset people. I mean, if you're seeing Harold and Maude for the first time, you're thinking, wait a minute now. Why am I watching this young boy kill himself? Repeatedly. And he's in therapy. Hello, Mrs. Robinson, Marley says. Very true. And they have a wonderful friendship, relationship. And it unfolds in a very enchanting way. And then they fall in love. They have a sexual encounter. Harold wants to marry Maude on her 80th birthday. And she says, no, I just took a suicide pill. I'm going to be dead at midnight. And Harold is furious, takes her to the hospital. She dies. And we wonder, oh gosh, maybe Harold's going to finally do it now that he lost the love of his life. But Maude's whole purpose was to teach him how to be happy and how to understand life. And when they're having their not intimate moment, but the moment where he wants to propose to her, but doesn't because he finds out that she took a suicide pill, we see on her arm numbers that have been tattooed on her arm. And I didn't remember that from the first viewing all those years ago. And this is why it's strange, because it was alarming, because first of all, the thing on her arm was like that big. Now that's not a Holocaust tattoo. The Holocaust tattoos went all across your arm so the Nazis could read it from across the room and know exactly who you were. They didn't make little tiny numbers. That was weird to me, that I know of. But what didn't make sense is that in 1971, she was 80 years old. She said 75, right? The first time she meets him, she says 75 is too young, 85, you're just biding your time. So I guess she decided, because of her experience in the Holocaust, that she was going to end her life at 80 on her 80th birthday. And she didn't tell Harold until she was already leaving. But that meant that she would have been, in 1945, I did not know until this year, my 58th birthday, that Auschwitz was freed on my birthday, January 27, 1945. All my life, I didn't know. So if that means in 1945, she would have to have been 56 years old. Now, I did a little research with ChatGPT and said, look now, how many, what was the average age of a Holocaust survivor in 1945? And there are not good numbers, but ChatGPT, well, we don't really know, but most of the people who lived were very young, so 20s, 30s. Hey, Janice says, I didn't realize when she talked about her specific age that she would let herself go at 80. I didn't catch that. Yeah, it was very subtly said because the director doesn't want you to really know. So the first scene where they kind of meet each other in the church and they talk about the person who died and that person died at 75. And she said, too early, but 85 is too late. And you would think, why would a Holocaust survivor commit suicide at the age of 80, especially when you have a brand new friend named Harold, who's fun and has a lot of money? That didn't make sense either, except I guess you would think that she lived her life as she wanted to live her life. She took her life into her own hands, and she's going to decide when she dies, and not some doctor and not some, mad people at the Holocaust camp. That's the only thing I can kind of imagine. It didn't really make sense to me, theoretically or storytelling-wise. But it's a wonderful movie, very funny. There are Cat Stevens songs throughout the whole thing. The whole thing is really told by Cat Stevens in his music. And Ruth Gordon is just an absolute miracle to watch. You just fall in love with everything she says. She's a very old lady who does whatever she wants and nobody stops her. And she got her way every time, and not just as an 80-year-old woman. All her life she was that way. So hey, if you're looking for a movie to watch, it's free, streaming now, Amazon Prime Video. Harold and Maude. And you couldn't even buy it or rent it. It's just only on Amazon and only streaming for free. Now, the other movie we saw over the weekend was a little newer, Megan. Oh, I can't do this or I'm going to get in trouble. Stop. Yeah. So this was another very interesting movie about AI, Marley Bits, Doozy Bits, Little Lamsey Divey. Yusuf's Cafe is a great newer release of Cat Stevens. Yes, Yusuf is a wonderful, very talented artist. And he sings a lot of his own songs a cappella, sort of, just playing his guitar on YouTube. If you look for Cat Stevens, or his Muslim name, Yusuf. I can't remember his last name. Yusuf something. So Megan is a story of an AI android doll girl technology. Is she alive? Is she not alive? This is the new Chucky. Remember all the Chucky movies? Now we're going to have a whole slew of Megan movies. She's not going anywhere. Now, if you haven't seen Megan, I won't ruin it for you because it's sort of new. Lower rated here. 6 out of 10 IMDb. 8 out of 10 Harold and Maude. Megan is a very interesting story. I enjoyed it. And it asks us how we want to deal with AI in our lives. Where AI becomes the parent, the friend, the confidant. And what are the rest of us going to do? You have kids, and then you turn them over to the robot to raise them. Now, I ask, how is that any different than what rich people are doing anyway? That's what they do. Rich people, generally speaking, and I do happen to know a lot of them, do not want to raise their own children. That's why they hire nannies, au pairs, housekeepers. You see it on television in the 70s, the Brady Bunch. Those kids were raised by a housekeeper, Alice. So rich people don't want to have anything to do with their kids up to a certain age. Now, once they're like in high school, college, and they become adults, you can reason with them, and talk, then they'll speak with them. But otherwise, they don't want to change a diaper. They don't want to feed. They don't want to drive around. That's for other people to do. That's why you hire them. Even a guy I knew who was a big musician in New York City had their first baby. The wife said, I have a job, not a high-paying job, but it's a job. And he had a night job, and he didn't want to take care of the baby. And she said, I have my own career. I'm not taking care of a baby. I'm not a housewife. Hillary Clinton-like. I'm not going to stay home and bake cookies. So they went out and hired a nanny and paid like, $25,000 a year, which was a quarter of their salary, because they didn't want to deal with the baby. I thought it was so funny. And then, we're having a baby. Oh, we fell in love again. Oh, this is the love of our life. We met and we're having a baby, but we don't want to take care of the baby. We're going to hire someone to take care of the baby. So this is all very interesting tech. Now, Allison Williams is the main person. Now, this is not an actress that I am really fond of. Her father is Brian Williams, the very strange newscaster. She was okay. I thought the other supporting cast was really terrific. Violet as the lonely child who, this is early on, loses her parents and then needs the android friend to make her whole, was very good. It's a hard role because you're playing most of your scenes with an android. This person, Ronnie Cheng, I thought was unbearably terrible. I guess he's a stand-up comedian, and he did not do anger well or sophistication well, or, he's the head of a large corporation well. I just didn't believe anything the guy said. He was cringe, as the kids say. This is a lovely young dancer who, when you needed to have the android walk and look like a real person, this is the person who was playing that role. And they would go back and forth between using a fake face and using a fake face on her and just a doll sitting there and then having the doll get up and animate and walk around. and she would do it. It was very well done. It was very tricky. Very smart directing. The script was very good. And so this guy was great, kind of the doofus in the office, who saw the rising fear of AI and didn't really do anything about it. This is the lovely friend, the consciousness of goodness, tried to do the right thing, didn't really work out very well. So Megan is a super interesting movie. I highly recommend it if you can find it. Now, if you have Comcast, I believe it's going to start streaming for free on February 24. And this is supposed to be like the unrevealed secrets version. You know, they have the director's cut where they had 20 minutes. Well, this is supposed to be some kind of special release for Comcast/Peacock users only. It's the special edition. Megan. This is not a movie I would want to watch again. But if I had never seen it before, I think the first viewing would be something that would be a longer, a little more intricate, would be better. So look for this. Streaming for free on February 24. Now, a movie that I would watch again and again, even this weekend if Jan Marie would have it, watch alone, is Harold and Maude. Sorry, it's just Tom Skerritt, who is one of my favorite actors, plays a policeman. And you can't even tell it's Tom Skerritt. He doesn't even use this real name, like M. Brown or something. This is the director, Hal Ashby, who actually appears in the movie when they're, playing with trains in an arcade. Scary guy, right? This is the beautiful Jaguar his mother buys for him. Ruth Gordon. And do you remember her in the Columbo murder mystery where she was a successful writer and then locked a guy in her vault and killed him? Fabulously done. She's just one of my favorite actresses. She's hilarious. She makes me laugh. And this is Bud Cort, who has now been, typecast as, the creepy guy his whole life as an actor. And you've seen him in a lot of new things. This is what he looks like now, Bud Cort. He's been very active. Been in a lot of movies. Little Prince, Ugly Betty, The Big Empty, Maid, Paul. He's had a wonderful career. But how could he ever do better than Harold and Maude? And I thought, why do so many Midwestern guys love Harold and Maude? And I think two things. One, the young man fights back against a very oppressive mother. And for those of us who have mothers like that, it was refreshing to see somebody be able to stand up to that kind of suffocation. And beyond the mother, there is the great state of Nebraska, which now is very red and very punishing, and they're implementing a 6-week abortion ban as soon as they can get it passed in the legislature, the unicameral. And there's some unspoken Midwestern gumption that we used to have as young kids that I don't know if it's there anymore, of rebelling against oppression and rebelling against this idea of fitting in, even though that's the whole idea of the Midwest, is you got to fit in. Don't stand out. Don't let people notice you, because then you're going to be in trouble and people are going to pick on you. So it was a great shared experience of rebellion and love and honor and life and doing the right thing and learning from people who were older than you and wiser than you and that who loved you even though you were very weird and dysfunctional and you didn't fit in. So for the guys who didn't fit in and for the other guys who hated being repressed, Harold and Maude is the touchstone movie for guys who are like, late 50s, early 60s. It's a movie to know and to behold. And so I thank you so much for being here today. We had a lovely conversation. I thank you so much. I'll see you again. If you need to find me, hey, there you go. Right there, Boles.xyz is our Mastodon instance. And it doesn't matter what instance you're on because it's all the same. However, if you're going to join my instance and you're going to, bust my chops, that we don't need. We don't need any more chops busting online or in America. Thank you. I'll see you again soon.